Alright, so thank you once again everyone for joining me back on my floor. Today we'll be going over a pro game, one that I have carefully selected based on some criteria that I will inform you about right now. Recently, during my reviews and lectures, I've been constantly coming back to this theme that to get better at Go, you need to count to 2. The number 2 essentially being the number of weak groups that are on a board. If that many weak groups are on a board, chances are your board is going to be looking very, very bad if you are the one with the 2 weak groups. So I wanted to get into a game that kind of shows off what happens when there's 2 weak groups. In fact, I want to show off what happens when there's even 1 weak group and how you can sort of profit from it. And I think this game is a very interesting example of that particular thing. The players are, let's see, Cho Han, who is currently black, and Song Tai-kun, who is currently white. I will have the link for everyone on YouTube down below in case you want to download the game, maybe bring out your own board or whatever, and follow along with me. You are more than welcome to do that. Now, as every game that I go over, nothing unusual happens in the opening. I say that every time, but if anyone is brand new to my videos, you'll grow used to me saying that. Each player takes 4/4. We're not seeing anything on the same side, so we're not going to have a diagonal. Diagonal being more territorially inclined, bit more fighty-fighty. Black does take the 3/4 facing the 4/4 stone, so immediately we're thinking maybe he's going to enclose large or small for orthodox. Maybe he's going to play one of the Chinese variations, or even approach in the hopes of playing a Chinese variation. So those are options here. White, in something that's a little bit unusual, plays his 3/4 stone facing black's 4/4 stone as well. Now we're getting into something a little bit interesting right in the beginning of the game. Because if we were going to have an idea of playing a Chinese variation, maybe we're not going to want to do it in light of the fact that this 3/4 also faces us. Maybe we're going to approach it because we know that if we're actually pincered here, and I've gone over this before, I'll do it again really quickly. If we're actually pincered here, we can see that it's kind of easy to build up a wall and attack while growing the side of the board. This is usually something that we don't really want to see as white. So there's a slight advantage if you're not careful to black being able to approach white this way. Okay, not surprising, we do not see the pincer. We see a simple statement of, I'm going to go ahead and get myself some territory here. Alright. Pretty standard Joseki. White gets territory, black gets influence. But here's where you have to start making judgments. Because if we were going to finish this Joseki, right, if we were going to play here, then our opponent gets to approach and have the same benefit as black had up here. So this is the first real decision of the game for black. It's like, do I want to play this way and give my opponent the ability to approach me? Black says I'm not going to do that, and he encloses. So a little bit of a subtle thing, but he is being aggressive by saying you can't have that good move. Instead, you're going to have to attack me up here. White approaches instead of splitting. Because if we simply split, we're giving away another enclosure, right? At this point, this side of the board is becoming quite large. And this stone, these group of 3 stones, can get out fairly easily with even something as simple as a 2-space jump. And as I'm sure everyone knows, it's completely impossible to play one move that's going to somehow surround the entire 3 stones in a way that they can't get out, because you see there's like holes no matter which way you try and actually play that. So alright, he decides to approach. You can see why he's doing that. Black, still conscious of the fact that he does need an extension, decides to pincer very, very far away. This is about as far as you can get from the white stone and still be able to deny this a base. If we simply played here, then maybe this kind of thing could still be played in an emergency if white chose to really want to settle here. This way, it's going to be uncomfortable for him to retain this position, increasing the chance that he's going to change direction and give you a wall that you were looking for. Yep, as we see, white changes position. He realizes that there's nothing here for him, so he calls no joy and buggers off. Separation, always important. Dives into the 3-3 as expecting, simply saying to black, alright, your move, what do you want to do? Are you going to block me this way and allow me to connect up here easily, also retaining Aji and his Hane? Are you going to say, I don't want you to do that, and make a wall here, despite the fact that you don't currently have a stone, to use the influence that you'd get for yourself? Well, as it turns out, black does decide to block in this fashion. Allowing white to live in the corner this way. Nice and solid. Gets the Hane. Gets to double Hane, which opens up a cut point, which we're of course going to take, because there's no reason not to. I mean, getting to cut off these 2 stones for free, essentially, is really, really good. And it might even give us Sente if black feels compelled to steal not steal, but capture the stone. We're going to connect. White's going to maximize his eye space in the corner, getting lots of points for himself, because we know all of this is Sente, because we have got cut points now. So black connects. And since we know that white is alive, he takes his extension. Now the question then is, how do we know that this is actually living? How do we know that? Well, let's assume that we do this. And black kills our stone. That's still more than enough room to live, right? Because we've got, you know, shapes like this, whatever, wherever you want to play, really. You're going to find ways to make 2 eyes. So, this stone being captured, not very large. But getting our extension, extremely large. I mean, can you imagine if for some reason we felt compelled to answer here, and black got to make a large point? That would be so, so bad. So alright. White gets the extension. Awesome. Now we have to decide as black, as what do we do from here? What do you think? What do you think we ought to be doing? Because we still have a lot available to us, right? We've got this side, which can still be attacked. We've got cornerstones, which can be approached. We've got low stones that we can lean on for influence. Even an extension, maybe, if we so wanted. So what do you think is a large area on the board right now? Take a minute and think to yourself, what would you do? Because part of the reason why we study pro games like this is for Sente. A lot of people in our games, or your games rather, everyone's games, I suppose, say to themselves, you know, I just don't know what to do. This is a good way of finding out how close are you to finding out what's right to do. Well, so this is the only area that we can attack. White finds himself pressured now. If we did anything else, and allowed white to continue settling here, we may never have the chance to attack this group again. And then suddenly, there are no other weak groups on the board. Because everything's filled, right? The corners have been spoken for. All that would be left is the middle and the sides, which are rather low and interesting and definitely not weak. So if we're going to attack something, it's going to be now. White says, fine, I can force a move. Black says, you are absolutely right, you can. I must answer that. White says, I don't want to block here, because then you get to connect up. Then I still have to respond. So I'm going to play here instead. It also ensures little things like this is also sente for white, in case he needs has any difficulty living in the corner. It also ensures that black's not going to change his mind, and Hani at the head of 2 stones, knowing now we probably won't be able to get that cut in, because it seems like there's just tons of Aji here. So that is a really, really good defense. Alright, so nicely defended. Can't really do much there anymore. Black approaches the corner. Only a corner that's open, so completely understandable. We understand why he was able to do that. White backs off. Black says, can I have a little bit of your corner? White says, you certainly can. I'm going to attach and make sure that this area doesn't become large. Now, why did he pick this rather than this? These are the 2 most common choices. This says I want the territory to make a base here. This says I want influence. How do we know which one we want? Well, we can take a look at the board. We see low stones, low stones, low stones, surrounded stones. So the influence wouldn't really work out well on a board like this. Black Hane doesn't get to play twice, sorry. That's a little bit too good. We don't get to do that. White backs off, black drops down. White turns. Goes into the corner. Interesting choice. Sometimes we actually sometimes defend this. But no, he just wants the corner. Black gets to make himself an extension, or white gets to make himself an extension, sorry. Make sure that black can't ruin it. But since we're alive here in the corner, it also means that black gets to attack us. How do we know it's the right time to attack? Once again, what's on the board? We see a group here, but we're not really sure what we can do against it. We don't have any option to like surround it. We can throw in, but the answer is really, really easy, and white's going to get influence to go out anyway. So maybe not right time for that. Nothing else is really invadable. Don't really need any kind of protection anywhere. So, going to attack the weak group. White responds to black's move by threatening to both surround and connect everything up. That would be a really strong play. Because if you can imagine a board like this right now, this stone would be in so much trouble. And any jump out into the center is a really, really great power play. White, I think, would definitely be in the driver's seat at that in this game. So, stands to reason completely Black says, no, 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 no. You don't get to connect up your stones, because I can count to 2. I know that you have a weak group here, and that this group is not really about to die, but it's not alive. And as long as it's not alive, I want to keep these groups separated. Counting to 2 is very, very important in this game. Getting strength off the stone. Black plays Hane, white gets to extend. Grab himself some shape. Forces white to fix his, otherwise he can cut through. Black turns, because the choices really is we do something with this, or it can still be cut. So as long as it can be cut, we don't mind. White can turn around and cut us here, but we're not going to care because we can attack. We're going to be fine. We can harass this. Since we turned, we can harass that. We can get the hair off the board. Can even poke at cutting points. Lots can be done here. White says, forget you, I'm going to cut. Very, very strong response. Why? Because this can't be captured. If we were on the 3rd line, that'd be different, but we're on the 4th. So if we Atari this down, we can see immediately that there's just no response. These stones are toast. So we can't do that. Means we can only do this. We're gonna have to live as we are. So here we see black living as is. All these are forcing moves. Hane head of 2, 3 stones. We know they're gonna get responses. Otherwise black gets out. Very, very basic. Gonna threaten to connect up underneath. Not gonna allow that to happen. To be happening, rather. Need to start making them eyes, which we do. And then white plays a throw-in in order to fix all of this shape point problems. See, now we're nice and solid. We see clearly this goes nowhere. We see clearly that goes nowhere. So clearly white has sensei to go back and defend himself. So nice little attack there. Black chooses to jump out, and this is where the game starts to get really, really interesting. Because we see white having to respond. And the fact that this is still a little bit unsettled, and that there's still this little itty bitty cut point, gives black an idea. He's going to see how many times he can force white to defend that group. Now that's actually very, very interesting, because this is an idea where we say to ourselves, alright, there's no way on earth I can actually kill this group, right? This group is might as well be alive. But as long as there's Aji, I can still get something from it. White says, I'm going to not respond to you. I'm going to strengthen myself, maybe cut you off and attack you. Black says, that's really, really great, but I'm still working here. And right now I'm saying, I'd like to attack you. You need to keep defending yourself against my moves. White says fat chance. This is probably times Suji. But white says fat chance. I see what you're doing. You're just trying to get me to defend that because you're making a wall here and I've got a weak group you can lean on over here still. So I need to get out in that middle and do something about this. Which is Which is amazing that he has to say that, right? Because he has to defend the group that is in absolutely no danger of being killed, he just has to defend it and just make sure it's not dead. Suddenly there's a whole bunch of other things that he has to do on the board. And we continue to see this. It's like, well, you still have to defend. It's like, okay, fine, I'll defend. It's like, no, you really still have to defend. Fine, fine, I have to defend. Got it, understand. But white is a pro. He's not going to simply go ahead and take his stones. He is going to try to counterattack. Because no one would see this being built and just, you know, let it take place. So, okay, we see this. White responds. Black responds. And now it's white's turn again. Ooh, if we have to respond again. If we have to respond again, this is getting so much stronger. Look at the size of that wall. And hello chat, hello Gobaduk. I mean, look at that. Oh, that's just insane. We can see that this area can almost be cut off with a single stone, and because of moves like this out in the middle, we're losing our ability to run even down south as well, or north, I guess, as this is for you. So white says, I need to live here. Okay. This is where I start getting nervous as a player. And if you watch my lectures regularly, you know I totally cue into these kind of games, right? Because this is the game where white's mission in life, live. Just need to make sure that this stuff doesn't die. Which, you know it's in trouble. You know that's going to be easy to do. Anything that knows it's in danger and doesn't have to respond to anything else can probably live. That's kind of the situation we're in right now. We expect these to live. So Black's question for himself now is, how do I turn this into profit? That is the pro question for you right there. How do we turn what we know is going to live into profit? Well, Black starts by saying, no connecty. Hello, DMF21. Black starts by saying no connection for you. I'm going to lean on this group and play whatever I have to in order to ensure that you're not connecting up this easy. Wait a minute. I messed up there, didn't I? Yeah, okay. I didn't play Black's move. Wait, what the frack am I doing? What happened? Yes, this, that. I'm now confuzzled. White takes the stone. Okay, we didn't remove it. Got it. And then we Atari. Sweet. Now we got it. Ataring is very, very hard. I picked up the wrong stone. That kind of confuses me. Alright, so we're good. We're good. We're great. We stopped this from connecting in a straight line. It can still try and connect with a jump, small knight rather, or a large knight, but those kind of things can be cut, so we're glad with this. White connects, or gets his base in order, because we don't want two big groups simultaneously looking for life, because anything, you know, down here wears the eyes. Not really sure where those are going to come from. Not only that, taking is going to Atari, which is kind of cool. And there's no way Black is going to connect. Otherwise, we can still keep playing and get out or something. So okay, we can't respond to the Atari. So I guess we're going to try and surround. But again, those stones know they're in trouble. The idea that we're going to kill them, totally not happening. White has nothing else to worry about, so he's going to respond. Because all he has to do is live. And when that's the only thing you have to do, an area as open as this, not all that difficult. If you're a pro anyway, we might screw this up. Pro would definitely not. Has to connect or be captured. And gets to make some shape, which pretty much ends the whole surrounding thing right now. Black connects on up. White's making himself nice and out. Okay, so that's not resulting in a death, clearly. Trying to connect up though, so I guess we're gonna block that and keep our connection solid. White connects up. Making sure he's all nice and safe now that black's all nice and strong. Does give black the opportunity to go back and follow up his attack. Which acts to completely surround the middle again, which is kind of a reoccurring theme here. So white has no choice but to keep making that shape. Oops, wrong one. There we go. Don't want to be disconnected. Have to respond, otherwise we're in trouble. And keep surrounding white. So, right away we see something very interesting taking place here. Is white living? Yeah, white is living everywhere. That's what's going on. But the cost of that is interesting. Because we see here we're not really making much in the way of territory. We see here we're not making much in the way of territory. The middle we're definitely not making much in the way of territory. And this is still open. Our largest sources of territory is pretty much up here in the corner and here in the corner. So while you're going around and living with all these groups, one thing to keep in mind is not to get frustrated that your opponent is in fact living in all of these areas. No, 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 no. What we keep in mind is while he's doing that, he's not making points. And you kinda sorta need the points if we're trying to win a game. Cuts through. Gets that shape. We're completely surrounded now, so now is the time to make shape. Pokes at the shape. Pokes at the shape. Now we can play things like the Hane. Suddenly we're not really looking terribly alive here. Need our second eye down here. That's fine, it's kind of why we were playing the move originally. We know that's a live, or that's probably going to live now, so we go and swallow the stone. Threaten to cut. White says no cut, and that's all black needed. So it looks like we're living. Looks like we're in a nice stage that where we can, you know, take some territory later for ourselves, seal that off. But this isn't quite alive yet. So that's very, very important. So white's going to have to respond to us there. And white's just going to, or black's going to extend. Threaten to cut through. Probably times Suji. Go for another poke. Can't respond to that. Otherwise we'll probably have to respond to that too, and that's no good. So instead we're going to extend again. Because we've been sure that this isn't going to connect. White extends. Black extends. White's losing even more territory than he did not have down here. Black's getting, whoops, shoot, sorry about that. Sorry about that. Slight problem. There we go. All fixed. Don't worry. There we go. While black is getting some territory in there. Great move to get in, because now we're solidifying our territory here too, now that we're nice and solid. White. Alright. So we're back. Had technical difficulty, sorry about that. As we were saying, until everything went down a moment ago, we were making sure that this had to form life. That way we get nice and strong on the outside, we reduce the points in the middle, all that good stuff. Last move was played here, so black gets to cut that. White play the Atari. But still a slight question, how are you going to live? You can't play elsewhere yet, I do not think. Get off that board, thank you. And simply connects. Alright. Forcing move's gone. We then respond. White has to not die. And form the two eyes. So black gets to go right along his merry little way and keep picking up them points. White says I'll break in this way. Black says give it your best shot. I'm gonna Hane and take all the things for myself. Not if I Hane. I can Atari you. But you cannot Atari me if I back off. Good point. I will defend. Black's turn. Black says, well, that was a great little exchange that we just had. Really proud of it. Now, if you do not mind, I'm going to take some stones for myself, if it's not too much of a bother. White connects as to ensure that stone is not taken. Alright. Good move. Follow up to kill the one stone later is great. Keeping white out of this area, even greater. White attach. Black thinks to himself, how do I respond to that? I can go here, or I can go here. If I go here, I'm giving you influence. Influence doesn't really matter. We can see that's not worth anything. If I go here, I'm giving you a little bit more territory. I'm reducing myself for no good reason. I think I'll take that territory and reduce you, if you do not mind. Pretty straightforward sequence. Black gets the stone. White finally saves his, because he's looking to connect underneath. Black plays Natari. I'm assuming times Suji again, before going back and blocking. Threats to connect. Black calls no joy, no connecting for you. But by doing so, he opens up an insane idea. A ko. We're just gonna bet the game on the ko. That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do. How do we know we can do this, though? I mean, that is an enormous thing to do. How do we know that we can play this cow?
Well, I think we know we can play the cow because he has more threats.
Obvious answer. True. Very, very true. Obvious answer. He's playing because he has more threats. But how does he know he has more threats?
Well, he's a pro. He's probably reading it.
Again, very, very true. But fundamentally, we can look at a few different things. We can see that this is a cofactory. We can see this is a cofactory. We can see that there's even a little bit we can do to mess with the corner. So we've got quite a few different ways that we can just keep getting threats. And the result of that is, of course, we can play the co. Are you kidding? Is white going to possibly have more threats than we have against these groups? Probably not. Probably not. So okay, show us your work, bro. He connects, which also happens to be, you know, Natari. Takes, gets rid of stones, go into tray, and connect. We are now all in. Everything's on the table. We better be right about this. Like, alright, cofactory, engage. Respond to me or you'll lose the bottom of the board. Okay, I will respond, sir. And from this we can see, you know, multiple threats. That's what makes it a cofactory. Cool. White has a few of his own. It's like, I can threaten to take the bottom of the board too. So you can, so you can. We will respond to that. But all black has to do is connect and remind white of that cofactory. Got me a cofactory. Bottom, top, sorry, ignore my directions. Alright, so that. Now we have to make sure that we're alive. Black gets to retake. White says, I would dearly love to kill you. Black would dearly love not to die. So we get to retake. That's the wrong tray. There we go. White says, no, white doesn't say anything, you moron. He just took. Black says, I would like to atari you. White says, I'll connect. I don't want to die. If you don't want to die, then I'm going to retake. And thus the code continues. White says, I can try to kill you again. Right, so you can. And thus we retake. Black says, I still have more cofactoriness. Black... Sorry, white responds not by connecting, but by finding another way to live. Interesting. And thus, black retakes. But there's a slight problem now. And that problem is, where does white get his next threat? Because, correct me if I am wrong, and perhaps I am, since he did choose to respond in this manner, are things like this not continuing for threats? Seems to me they are. Since he chose to respond in that manner, and since we know there's more threats here as a result, where are white's other threats going to come from? Because we can play here for white. That should be a white stone. We can try and play here. We could do that. We could do that. Or I should say we could have if black couldn't just ignore it and, you know, cut through if he felt like it. But that is technically still a threat. Perhaps not worth as much anymore. But even if white does get this threat in, and black still has the threats, black still has even more threats at his disposal. So we see one for white, maybe one for white, and we see at least two for black. That's what we call a bit of an unwinnable situation. So white resigns. White says, you know what? I can't fight this. You're gonna have more threats than me. No joy. So interesting game. I have absolutely no interest if you study this co-fight. This was just kind of a cool thing at the end of the game. What I am interested in is how white had to live with all of these different groups, how he gets nothing from having to live from all those groups, while, you know, black's still picking up some points here and there, just harassing as you do. I mean, everything lived. Congratulations on white. But still, just because you know how to live doesn't make it a good thing. This is one of those games where we clearly would rather play as black than as white, simply because sure, our life and death is a point where we can live everywhere, but it's kind of not something that you really want to do. You'd rather be the person who knows how to take advantage of the fact that someone will try to live everywhere and still win. Anyway, just my little opinion on the game. So, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm always on the lookout for games such as these, where your opponent is being so annoying and living everywhere, and yet you're still finding ways to turn that to your advantage.